Welcome to the Bougie Coop, the podcast for backyard chicken keepers with tight spaces, big dreams, and a flair for the fabulous. I'm your host, Lisa Ronsky, and every episode we'll talk about all the quirky adventures of raising backyard birds with a bougie twist. I'll just say it up front, I'm proudly one of those crazy chicken ladies. When I brought home my first chicks, I had no idea how much they changed my life. These incredible birds have brought me so much joy, connection, and honestly, a whole lot of healing. So whether you're a seasoned hen tender or still daydreaming about your first coop, you're in the right place. This podcast is your comfortable, slightly chaotic guide to small space chicken keeping. So fluff those feathers, pour yourself something sparkly, and let's dive in. The Bougie Coop is proudly sponsored by Eden Feeds. Eden Feeds is a Montana-based company that was started in 2018. The founders were looking for high-quality, non-GMO feed that didn't break the bank. Unable to find what they wanted, they decided to make it themselves. Good stuff in means good stuff out, and Eden Feeds uses only locally sourced, Montana-grown grains in all of their formulas. It's a high-quality product at a great price point. My girls love it, and I know yours will too. Eden Feeds is available in the western U.S. at Murdoch's Ranch stores and plenty of smaller local feed shops too. Check out EdenFeeds.com to find a location near you. Welcome to the Bougie Coop. Today's episode will be all about some of the most common supplements promoted in the chicken world for preventing or treating parasites. We're diving into red pepper, pumpkin seeds, apple cider vinegar, garlic, wormwood, and yes, Diatomaceous Earth, because the claims are everywhere and not all of them hold up under a microscope. Let's start with some info on the differences between a supplement and an FDA-approved medication. Many of these supplement products fall under the category of nutraceuticals. That's a fancy mix of the words nature and pharmaceutical, and it refers to plant-based products made from leaves, roots, stems, flowers, or seeds that are marketed as providing specific health benefits beyond basic nutrition. Herbs have absolutely been used for centuries in both animal and human medicine, and a lot of modern drugs are based on compounds first discovered in plants. The big difference comes down to testing and purity. FDA-approved medications go through extensive research, trials, and regulation. Nutraceuticals don't. They're legally classified as food items, which means they don't require specific testing for effectiveness and do not have to be standardized for potency. Manufacturers are supposed to ensure safety at the recommended dose, but there's no requirement to prove the product actually works, or even that what's on the label matches what's in the bottle. Potency can vary depending on sourcing, processing, and storage, and some companies test more than others. It's basically the Wild West compared to pharmaceuticals. And let's address a common mindset. Natural does not mean safe. Taking more than the recommended amount can cause harm, and unfortunately, people often assume that if a little is good, more must be better. That's not how biology works. Pharmaceutical companies can create drugs from these same plants because they isolate and concentrate the specific compounds that actually do the work. Raw plants don't always contain enough of those compounds to be effective, and sometimes they include other substances that can cause problems. With drugs, there are strict checks and balances. With nutraceuticals, most of the trust falls on the company selling them, which is something we need to keep in mind when making choices for our flocks. There are a lot of claims about supplements preventing or treating poultry parasites, so let's talk through some of the most common ones. As always, I'll link studies in the show notes. First up, red pepper flakes and seeds. Some studies show that capsaicin, the compound that makes peppers hot, may have activity against parasites and can support gut health. Peppers also contain carotenoids that deepen yolk color, which everyone loves. But here's the reality check. Most of the research showing effectiveness against parasites, specifically coccidia, is done in vitro, meaning in a lab with concentrated extracts, not chickens casually snacking on pepper flakes. So, does feeding red pepper reduce parasite loads? Maybe, maybe not. It depends on quality, processing, dosage, and storage. The upside is that peppers are generally safe. Chickens don't feel the heat. But relying on red pepper alone to treat a heavy parasite load is probably wishful thinking. After proper medical treatment, it might help support overall gut health in a stable flock. Just don't expect it to replace proven medications. Pumpkin seeds get a lot of hype as a natural dewormer, but studies haven't shown any effectiveness at the amounts backyard chickens actually eat. They're great for fiber and enrichment, though, so feed them for variety, just not as a parasite control plan. Then we have apple cider vinegar, the internet's favorite cure-all. There's one small study from 2018 suggesting it might affect coccidia in broilers, but there's not enough supporting research to draw strong conclusions. ACV can be useful for fermenting feed, that's honestly why I use it, but it's not going to prevent or cure parasites on its own. Garlic has shown some promising results in studies related to coccidia. It contains compounds that may support intestinal health and immune response. The strongest results tend to come from concentrated extracts or essential oils used at precise doses. For example, garlic essential oil added to water at 0.06 mils per liter showed some efficacy at controlling coccidia in chicks. That's very different from sprinkling garlic powder on feed. Research is still limited and not all Emeria species have been studied, but the data is interesting. My takeaway? Garlic may be helpful as a supportive tool for healthy birds, but if you're dealing with a heavy coccidia infection, reach for proven medications like Corid or Endocox first. Wormwood is an herb with a long history of use for parasite control, and some studies suggest effectiveness against coccidia and certain worms, though worm research has mostly been done in sheep. One older study showed white wormwood performed almost as well as albendazole against cecal worms in poultry, but there's limited recent data. And here's the big caution. Wormwood contains thujone, which can be toxic at higher doses and may cause seizures or death. If you're considering wormwood, work with a knowledgeable herbalist or holistic practitioner, avoid long-term use, and never use wormwood essential oils with chickens. Lastly, let's talk about Diatomaceous Earth, or DE. It's not technically a nutraceutical, but it shows up everywhere in chicken care advice, so we need to address it. There are two types, crystalline and amorphous. Crystalline DE is heat-treated, highly abrasive, and used in things like pool filters. It's dangerous to inhale or ingest and should never be used around animals. Amorphous, or food-grade DE, is the natural form. It works on insects because its microscopic edges damage their exoskeletons, causing dehydration, and can work on topical parasites when dusted on chickens and used in areas where common topical parasites live. But intestinal worms don't have exoskeletons. They're soft-bodied and protected by mucus, and DE doesn't work well in wet environments like the gut. And common sense says that if there is enough DE to be slicing up gut parasites, it will also slice up the intestinal walls as well, and we certainly don't want that. Claims that it detoxifies the body also aren't supported by solid research. DE does contain trace minerals and may offer minor benefits in that context, but it won't prevent or treat worms or coccidia. It also carries respiratory risks. If you use it for insect control, wear a mask and place it in areas your chickens can't access. And if you are using it for topical insect control on your flock, just know there's a real respiratory risk since birds are unable to eliminate foreign particles from their air sacs as easily as mammals can from their lungs. If added to feed, moistening the feed can help reduce inhalation, though it is usually used in very small amounts in feeds just to prevent caking. To summarize, plant-based supplements can have useful compounds, but backyard dosages are often too low or too variable to reliably treat parasites. Nutraceuticals are not regulated like drugs. Ingredient amounts and purity can vary. Do your homework on manufacturers and formulations. For active parasite infestations, conventional tested treatments are usually required to regain control. Once healthy and stable, some nutraceuticals may help as adjuncts. Don't assume natural equals safe. Follow recommended doses and, if possible, consult a poultry vet for significant parasite problems. As always, my goal here isn't to tell you how to raise your flock. It's to present science-based information so you can make informed decisions. The chicken world is full of big promises and pretty packaging, but not all of it is backed by real evidence. Just because something has been used for generations or someone's granny swears by it doesn't mean it works consistently or safely. Do your homework, read the research, make the choices that align with your values and your bird's health. Thanks for listening. I hope you learned something today, even if you disagree, and remember the golden rule of the bougie coop. Function comes first, but beauty should never be optional. Got questions? Hit me up at thebougiecoop@gmail.com. And don't forget to follow The Bougie Coop on Instagram and TikTok for more behind the scenes and chicken glam shots. Thanks for joining me, and until next time, stay bougie.